This is my new Baofeng UV 5R Plus radio, dual band 2 m 440 that I bought from Amazon last month for about $40. Comes with this snazzy plastic case that protects the body of the radio, of course an antenna, lanyard, belt clip, charger, drop-in charger that matches up with the lithium-ion battery that this comes with, and a couple other accessories that really weren't very useful. There's like an earbud that was pretty cheesy, so I don't use it. Anyway, by turning on the radio here, you're greeted, and my radio here drops me into memory mode. You have two modes on this radio, like many handhelds. You have the memory channel mode, and you also have a VFO mode. It is a dual VFO radio. It has dual watch, which I actually have disabled on this radio for a very specific reason. You go into the menu by hitting the menu option on the keypad. There are several menu options that I have altered from the defaults to better match the way I use the radio. If you go into the menu and go to menu option 7, that is where dual watch is enabled and disabled, and as you can see I have it disabled on this radio. By disabling it, that allows you to use a keyboard shortcut to go from high to low power in memory mode, which normally requires you to go into the menu. If you tap the lower right button momentarily, it takes you from high mode, which is about 5 watts, to low mode, which is about 1 watt, without having to go into the menu, which is a nice thing. Some Chinese radios don't allow you to do that. Going back into the menu, go to menu option 14. This is the voice annunciator. This will allow the radio to talk to you, and most do by default, but I have it disabled on this radio because I find it annoying. You have the choice between English, Chinese, and off. Also, there is a funny feature on many Chinese radios where if you press and hold a certain button, you get an alarm, which is really annoying, and we don't want to transmit that over the hand bands. So, I'll go ahead and turn this off and back on. I have that alarm mode, which is option 32, set to sight. What that means is if you happen to set that off by mistake, it will only make that noise on your radio and will not transmit that out over the bands, which a couple of the other options will allow you to do. Also, this radio by default sends Roger beeps and tones at the end of transmissions, which can be very annoying, especially with repeater work. So I have those options turned off. They're options 35, 36, 37, and 39 in the menu. So with those options set, I pretty much have the radio set up very similarly to the Yaesu that I have, single band radio, so that it doesn't sound like a lot of these radios end up sounding like a walkie-talkie because of the way they're set up by default and not a proper handheld. But I do like this radio quite a bit. I get very good reception on the radio. It has some nice features built in that many Chinese radios also have, but this one does it quite well. If you tap down here, that turns on an LED at the top. You can see I have a plastic cover over it at the moment. It goes from, you see it flashing there, solid, flashing, off. Not much of a light, but it could be useful in certain circumstances. Press and hold, opens your squelch. Tapping the upper button
that's a good point.
turns on the FM radio. And this actually has an FM radio built in that's really quite sensitive. And you can tune, unlike some Chinese radios, you can actually tune individual frequencies. So if I punch in another frequency, it'll take me to that frequency, and I can monitor FM transmission in emergency or just when I'm not on the radio. So by tapping that again, turns that back off, drops you back into whatever mode you were in before. You can enter 2 m or 440 frequencies from the keypad. You can store repeater offsets from the keypad, which is a difficult thing to do with some Chinese handhelds. It's not too convoluted with this one. And I'll put a link to some instructions in the video description on how exactly to do that from the keypad. I choose to enter most of the frequencies that I put on the radio using a software program called Chirp, which supports the UV5R series of radios. And if you get a Kenwood compatible programming cable, which plugs in on this side, the same place where your speaker mic would plug in, takes Kenwood compatible accessories, you can program from your computer. I've programmed from both a Mac and a PC with no problem. You want to make sure you get a good quality cable though. You want one of the ones that has a genuine USB to serial converter in it. There are many cheap Chinese copies that do not work well with later versions of Windows. The one I bought was about $20 on Amazon, and I'll put a link to that in the description as well. That has a genuine USB to serial converter in it. All in all, I really like this radio. It's simple, it's very affordable at $40. Battery life is great. There are accessories available for the radio. Any Kenwood compatible 2-pin setup like this will work with this radio. I have a speaker mic and have used the programming cable as well. So that's my impression of this radio. I really do like it, and I suggest if you do not have one or one like it, that maybe you should pick one up if you spend a lot of time on 2 meters or 440. Thanks.